ban phase. Let's get into it, folks. Somebody has to get 3 maps inside of this series. Otherwise, we're not going to stop. Thatcher's going to be the first ban here on Theme Park. Honestly, not surprised at all. And it's going to be followed up by a Maverick ban by Timbers.
So traditional bans here when it comes to theme park play, especially from what we've been watching in other regions here, this is going to make it incredibly difficult for an attacking team to get access to any type of reinforced wall. Things will continue to follow meta trends after that as we shift over to the defenders bans, Mira being the first one knocked out here, and we should expect something like a Maestro or Echo ban, and there you go, Echo ban as the final one, with Estral getting the last word in.
Really like this ban set for the offense because this is going to push both of their teams to the limit on what they can do inside of their utility game. I want to see what they can accomplish without these two operators. We're more than likely going to see some Kali play, or you're going to have to go the other avenue, which is burn and then frag grenade whoever or whatever is preventing you from getting that wall. So as we jump into things, we're headed to Bunk Daycare first to start things off.
We can immediately see that committed Yana pick that you had talked about in the pregame there. That's going to be picked up by Raven and is likely to stay that way for quite a while. You are going to see the Hibana come into play on Biz, who will more than likely be picking up Hard Breach when necessary for Timbers throughout the rest of this half. And then we've got Navy over there on the Sledge, which will 6-pick away from a Ying to get over to that.
Not a bad exchange there for the Ying, and she does have quite a bit of utility. Are going to have Vector bringing the Claymore as well for a possible flank watch, but have that matched up with Nomad, so shouldn't have to worry too much about that. And plenty of throwables to handle everything. The defensive Estral not bringing a Jaeger either, so they're only going to have to worry about those Wamai discs. That's pretty big, but as we've seen from these teams in those previous VODs, they're very aggressive. It really does seldom get down to where it is just straight utility burn and then execute on site. There's usually quite a few picks to happen before that, and as I was talking about earlier as well, there's a lot of Goyo picks inside of the Mexican division. I want to see how well they utilize him throughout all of these maps, mainly because we see him brought on almost every single site. So is it mainly going to be for utility burn, or are you trying to slow them down from taking that map control?
All right, well, we got players out onto the board. Timber spawned for the first time. See them being a little bit cautious of runouts to begin with here, although not looking like much of that is going to be in play from Astral's perspective. They've set up pretty normally for when it comes to this site defense. That means the Timbers are thankfully going to be able to start their round off in a pretty normal fashion too. Players rotating over towards the cafe balcony entryway, where you've got Raven already in position to start moving in, and a few other teammates just a couple inches away. Fungi's looking for a lucky opportunity if he can get it through the drone hole there to pick off 1 to 2 players. They're obviously aware of the fact that we've got the push from Timbers right out on the cafe balcony. Nothing going to be shining through that drone hole just as of yet. Could be some opportunities in the future though. And regardless, Fungi still needs to be here to watch for the swing coming in from Cafe. Yana drone is going to get quickly taken care of when it tries to work its way out into the open. Besides that, not much happening from the aggressive side of things yet. Timbers over on Cafe's side is taking their time with it, waiting for the dragon push to go through.
Timbers trying to find as much intel as they possibly can, abusing Ayana as much as possible as well with that hologram, but already quite a big dent inside of their drone game. Plenty of active drones as well, so they could have those spurs throughout the map, but also remember those mute jammers are a big deal on the defense. You can lock down those drones. Even if the X isn't across them, they could be stuck. As we can tell from Timbers right now, they're trying to work their way into initiation. Just closed down here from Estral. It's a C4 out, but it doesn't seem to bag them any damage at all. It's going to be Toski with the first blood here.
Still have the 2 players alive on the inside of Control. They'll be able to remain in the mix, but they will lose their first entry trying to work their way in from Cafe. That's the Zofia now dead and out of the mix. The rest of the team going to have to try and pick up the pieces here as they start to push their way in towards initiation side. Nice kill found by Navy in the process. Swings around for a second and he's going to get it. Is able to take out Pixie and Skimsy, but Toski is there to trade him back and end his rampage. Ultimately, though, evening us up into a 3v3.
extremely aggressive on both ends, but we end on equal footing as well. Only 40 seconds remain for the offense to try and get anything done here. Morph down on stuns as the rest of his team is completely out of secondary utility as well. So it's going to be all down to throwing some lead to try and get some kills here. Oh, the Habana works their way in, but Zigma's going to be the first point of contact for Biz. Biz going to take quite a bit of damage, but as Zigma's aware of where he is, uses that angled grip perfectly to take him down. They've already downed Raven as well, as he's confirmed. Morph, the last one here in the 1v2, but also the best player statistically on Timbers, shuts down Fungi, only has Toski to remain, but it's Estral with round 1.
Nicely played by Estral as they close things down in order to take control of the first round here in the bunks and be able to put themselves up on good footing, shutting down that cafe attack before it could get too far, on top of obviously some issues dealing with the push working its way in through waiting room. But thankfully, players like Toski were able to be in the mix, capable of being able to trade things back into an even footing and then control the low man situation from that point forward.
Very interesting round there by both of these teams, particularly from Timbers. Then they burned through quite a bit of utility to get down to that 3 versus 3. I wish we would have been able to see exactly where they burned that at for the main push, but it seemed a lot of it was just trying to toss it into office and initiation to push back the defense, but there was no area in which they could capitalize on that. Eventually they got waiting room control, but it was just them moving back and forth in between those two rooms where Estral could abuse those rotations and get those picks that were needed. But as we saw, multiple trades coming down eventually knocked it down into the 1 versus 1, which was clutched out by Estral. And sometimes it's as simple as that. It just comes down to the gunplay and just not knowing where your last man is.
All right, so going down to a throne defense now, probably one of the most hard-locked sites on this map. One of the more difficult to attack ones for the attacker due to the general lack of access to it, both in terms of soft destruction and just general access, overall. And you look at the amount of doors and what have to lead into it. Especially with the bans that we have getting in is going to be an even tougher process for Timbers here, as they don't have access to the Maverick or a Thatcher. So they have to come up with some creative ways in order to get down one of the 3 hard breachable walls that is often played in that site.
It's a very interesting take on the armory defense here from Estral. They've stacked a lot of utility upstairs inside of Cache. Saw 2 ADS as well, some castle barricades, and an Evil Eye inside of here. So we'll see how well the drone work works for Timbers, and if they're able to try and figure out a game plan in order to work themselves around this. Estral's fully committed upstairs. At least 2 members, Toski and Pixie and Zigmas, make it 3 off-site, trying to hold down the upstairs, making this job all the more harder for Timbers.
Timbers making a lot of noise right outside on Dragon Balcony. However, you're going to see Toski line up a nice position to immediately shut down Biz before he can make any progress working their way to the inside of Cache or the rest of the second floor. It's going to send Toski back, as the job is basically done for him at this point. He does not need to double down to get more kills, only they feel the need to, really. So instead, he's going to fall back, and they've got some pretty nice angles still to play off of. They're kind of trapping Timbers in if they want to try and push in and take control of Cache here.
Well, it's a cruel world right now for Timbers, as they've lost their only hard destruction. And now it's just all down to the funnel into sight. The real question is are they going to be able to get the map control needed to even do that? There's quite a few steps in order to get to site. First things first, they got to deal with this top hold of Estral, which is not working out for them in the slightest. Already dedicating a few nades as well, some stuns here, but nothing working out too well for them. They're actually quite stacked on utility right now while they continue to face check up the hallway. Could possibly see some combatants from the opposite end, though, as Vector's working his way into the top of Arcade. Oh, almost a beautiful shot, but it's Pixie to hit initially here. Raven gets the kill and traded out by Toski as Estral continues the reign of terror.
They're all still looking good to be able to close things down here, but Raven and Morph are looking for ways to get back into it. A well-placed nade, but unfortunately it's thrown too early. But Raven still able to follow through and pick up the kill regardless onto Pixie. Good find. Now we have to see how they can follow it through. Still working with a man disadvantage here at this point, down to a 2v3. Almost made it a 1v3, but Morph, some good movement, backs out just before he's locked into that fight and survives it just with a sliver of HP. Fortunately, not going to take him very far. It's going to be an Evil Eye that somehow gets the confirmation onto him. I don't know if it's what took him down or not, but it's certainly what kills him. That's going to leave Raven alone in the 1v3 situation. trying to look for a potential to swing, but it's just not going to be found. And Toski will shut things down, confirming the second round for Estral.
What a beautiful top hold from Estral. I love the game plan behind that, the abuse of the castle barricades, the angle set up to be able to hold from security if they don't take. There are so many things that Estral had set up for Timbers to try and figure out, but we didn't see them commit to much of anything. It was a lot of face checking. They initially used the drones to get the intel, but we just didn't see them use their secondary utility to try and push the team back or make any of their gunfights easier. For Timbers, this is your map pick. You have to be able to get this figured out on these takes. It's a very difficult thing. I've honestly never seen any team hold that in such a similar fashion before, with the castle barricades and everything dedicated to cash in that area, especially on an armory hold. So a nice little fresh look to see on Theme Park.
A nice little fun poll for you guys. We're wondering in the chat how many of you might have been new to the Mexican scene, and if so, who are you cheering for? It seems like most of you are cheering for Estral. Unfortunately, we got the logos flipped there, but it looks like most of you are cheering for Estral. Timbers has 31% of the votes.
And don't worry, if we don't talk about it, it's not there. That's just how it works.
Well, messed that one up, didn't we?
It's kind of like my bank account. If I just don't look at it.
There we go. We just casually fixed it there. Thank you, production.
Production is the best. And they fix everything for us. Very, very helpful people. What I can tell you right now is
going to do it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can tell you that. There's no way I could run production. I'm way too lost. I'm way too lost. But getting back to the series now, Toski currently 7-1-0, hasn't even died yet, and that's only through 2 rounds. So he's definitely the main thorn in the side of Timbers, if you can even call it that. More like a knife to the gut right now. They need to figure out some way to stitch this one up. Otherwise, I can see this going the way of Estral, at least for the rest of this defensive half.
Certainly the case. Timbers going to be starting things out with a push into Locker just to take care of the castle barricades sitting on the hallway. Raven will take care of that. Actually, not even going to continue pushing. Job is done for now. So back out, regroup with the rest of the team. Got an interesting extended hold from Estral right now as well. A lot of emphasis on keeping control over throne and barrels over towards that left side of the display that you were seeing a second ago. So we'll pay attention to how that'll play out later on. Because as you can see, there's actually not much of a defense put upstairs where you often see the extended hold place for defenders on this site.
All good intel work here from the defensive Estral. And the pulse sensor very, very well right now downstairs inside of storage. Able to find out that Timbers are going to take control of Cafe. Actually have full top control now. Not even halfway through the round. So this is a very good start for Timbers. No picks, no damage done. And they still have all of their drones for the most part. The only person lacking a drone is Navy. To make that 9 drones that they're able to use for the time being. So they get halfway through this round, though. This is when things could get explosive for Estral.
Funky's still waiting for that angle to line itself up from the inside of barrels. Not going to get it, but he is going to get a drone running in that'll reveal his position. So we'll need to get out of there fast. Otherwise, risks being locked down by a member of Timbers. Timbers, meanwhile, commit to a pretty big rotate. 2 to 3 players rotating through initiation and over to the top of arcade stairs. Ultimately, Vector with a lineup takes him a minute on the spray, but does finally get the confirmation off onto Toski. Netting Timbers the first kill of this round and an advantage to work off of for the remaining minute.
That's a terrible thing. Estral is spread out entirely on this bottom floor. Yes, Timbers, you have the top control and you can get these picks, but are you going to be able to close down the retake if you get the map control? That's a big pick here. Morph takes down Skimzy, but we might have a refrag. Oh no, the just not doing enough, but it's going to be an initial challenge from Zigmas as he rushes up yellow. Has all the camera work to be able to keep him safe as well. Very well played from Estral on the refrag, slowing down Timbers and forcing them into this clutch moment with only 30 seconds remaining. The umps coming alive for the defensive squad as they continue to put bullets to brains inside of barrels.
Great awareness from Fungi as he's still playing in an incredibly dangerous position for it being this late into the round. Timbers, in the meantime, are completely all over the place right now. I just saw a player outside of Cafe. They're trying to rotate everywhere. Morph, though, finds a good re-entry to get back into the site, but Fungi shuts it down again. Pixie also picks up another member of the Timbers and is going to be able to finish it off with the last kill as well. Estral weren't looking that great up until the final seconds where they round it back under their control and seal the deal for round number 3.
just not able to shut down the rotations for the retake from Estral. They won almost every single one of those gunfights, and it wasn't the fact that Timbers didn't know that they weren't there either. There's plenty of drone work done to know what was going on in barrels. It's just the fact that Estral outclassed them inside of that round. Great play by them, an amazing job at shutting down all of the rotations from Timbers when they came down to the bottom floor. As we previously stated, they did a very good job of taking that top control, but Estral was never going to combat that in the first place. Yes, they were able to get the picks, but what did it cost you eventually? I mean, they weren't able to do anything really with that top control besides the picks. They weren't able to guarantee a plant going down. They didn't keep anyone up top to shut down the rotations in between sites. There was a lot of things that Timbers could have done to try and slow down what Estral was going to attempt.
Yeah, and Estral making very good work of the extended downstairs hold, especially from Fungi's perspective there, did an absolutely amazing job of delaying the inevitable into that site take and eventually helping out with shutting it down in the final seconds as well. This is going to take Estral upstairs once again in order to do a bunk hold, as they'll start to wrap things back around once again now that they've completed the full site rotation.
Okay, well, the site triangle has been completed, as you just said, John, and through 3, how are you feeling about this? This is a very aggressive style of play. I like the defensive set. I think that Timbers, for the most part on the theme park, I feel as though their defensive side's probably going to be stronger. And it's not the fact that they obviously can't get things done on the offense. They're able to get those picks, but it seems that they've more leaned towards the defense here. Or it might be as simple as Estral is throwing them some very weird looks, because I'll definitely give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we still have to keep in mind too, the theme park still plays pretty defensively heavy as well when you consider that. So I think that's especially in a region like this too. I think that would be compounded even more. So I think we expect the defensive team to cut ahead. I think the real difference is going to be, how complex the setup's going to be for Timbers on the second half, and are Estral able to deal with that or not. That's something we'll get a much better picture of once we get past round 6. But right now, I think the stage we set in the pregame has led itself to be pretty accurate right now, with Estral being that team that definitely seems to have a lot of, very, it appears anyway, like they have a lot of high. Oh, very nice shot from Skimzy, swinging out into the middle. Waiting room hall just completely destroys Biz. Another player looks like they may be attempting that over the next few seconds, but probably going to hold it after the loss of Biz. That's all the hard breach. Also gone from Timbers now.
I assume that Biz is having the least amount of fun inside of this best of 5. This is just the start of of this series, and he's currently sitting 0-0-4. So hopefully the mental game for him isn't shattered just yet. Oh, almost a beautiful shot there from Toski as he jiggle peeks the door into Cafe. Frag grenade out, but not going to accomplish too much there. It is Raven stuck inside a Cafe, but now getting shot through the single panel. Very nice shots there with the G36C to take down Toski. Now has a possibility of taking control of yellow, but I don't know exactly where Estral's holding these crosses from.
Team morphed. Waiting for a potential lineup here. Might have to rotate those, so that might explain why the air jab's going to come out to cut it off in the event someone does try to follow him on a retreat, but we'll try to catch up with him in a few seconds and get a better picture of that. Pixie, in the meanwhile, is going to be able to confirm Navy as he goes down to the gas grenade and is eliminated by it, putting some control back into the favor of Estral now as they take the man advantage away yet again. Still holding strong control over the site itself. Raven, though, is going to be able to eliminate Zigmas. Brings things back under the control of Timber slightly. Raven taking it even further now as well. Starting to swing out. Players from Estral seem to be challenging him somewhere near Cafe there, and he's finding every single one of those to be successful in his favor. Pixie finally starts to trade things back a little bit more for Estral here, and with Morphed also in a down state, that's going to leave Raven in a very delicate position for the rest of this round. Tries to make a run into his opponent, who doesn't seem to be anywhere aware of the fact that he's directly behind him. A big mistake from Estral to lose Raven in such a big way, and now this takes it down to a 1v1.
Very difficult situation here as Pixie's going to have to rotate all the way back upstairs. I don't believe that they have any intel on him either. He's looking through the sights, but Raven is 1 HP. This SMG-11 has a crazy rate of fire as well. He only needs one round to make contact with him, and that's all she wrote. Raven going to have to win this out on that mechanical ability. It's all about the game sense now. You have to slow him down and play this post plant almost perfectly. Can't get shot a single time. Pixie working his way up the hallway now, but is he aware of where he is? Oh no, what a round from Raven. Shut down Pixie and the ace. Oh my God, what a play from him. And what game sense to be able to rotate back towards daycare. get that diffuser set, or excuse me, bunk, and get that diffuser set down, then use their own rotation against them. Rotate to waiting room, hold the cross, and finally pick up the first round for Timbers.
Crazy stuff from Raven there. We'll get some replays up on the screen now for you to see how that played out. Starting off with Skimsy's nice frag that began the round. But as you can see, it was all Raven from that point forward as he took control of things. Would have loved to have been able to see the 2 kills that he picked up from inside of Cafe. I'm curious if that was him getting aggressive or Estral's players trying to take duels and then ultimately bringing the man count down against their favor. But obviously we didn't really get to see those. So that's one for the replay books later on.
I'm very curious as to what happened in there as well, but now Raven's obviously shot to the top of the scoreboard, and he's actually matched up with Toski for the most part. Toski only having 2 deaths and Raven having 3, so it seems it's going to be a back and forth between these 2 squads. So that means, folks, who is going to be the better squad overall? You can't just have the hero play the entire time. You have to have some of the supporting cast also get their hands dirty. Someone's got to work the shovel for the body, if you get what I mean. So 15 seconds remain inside of this round's, at least prep phase, as Estral is headed back towards Armory.
Try that one out once again. Instead of reattempting the upstairs site, they'll continue to rotate around their sites and go to this one, which, to be fair, did also play out pretty heavily into their favor, as did most of the sites. Just got Fungi here trying to figure out where he wants to place those last couple cameras. Then we'll get started with things as Timbers are now out on the board yet again for their last 2 rounds of attack here. Penultimate round, we'll get to see if Timbers are going to have a chance to potentially swing this back into what could even be a 3-3 scoreline still, or if Estral will remain with solid control to try and push a bigger advantage in their court.
I'm still waiting on a round from Timbers where the offense takes off and it isn't just that singular play. I want to see how well this can possibly work with the Yana in person, not just through VOD and trying to find a round. I want to see it live inside of this best of 5s because they haven't had a round without it just yet. That's 5 times in a row that they've chosen Ayana over anything else that they could possibly bring. And it's not that she's a bad operator at all. She brings a lot of very good utility and almost infinite droning capabilities with her hologram. Mix that with some frag grenades and you're in for a good time. Frag grenade over from Navy to get rid of the, I believe, mute jammer sitting there. Yes, it is the mute jammer in order to get the wall open. So now they have some pressure from barrels into the back of Throne.
We need to see players taking the first risks here to look for first bits of entries. No one from Timbers wanting to test the waters on that just yet, although as you can see for Morphed, he's very close to that point. Ultimately, though, Biz is going to end up being the first player to fall from Timbers as Zigma is able to pick up a kill. Vector's immediately going to rotate downstairs and take his teammate's place. The real big negative from this is they've lost their hard breach, and from the looks of it, they don't have the biggest gap in this wall, so they don't really have a clean way to work their way in through this breach right now. Pretty sure they can crawl through it, but as I'm sure many of you who play the game are aware, that could lead to immediate suicide. And it is crouchable at least, so it's not the end of the world, but as you're seeing right there, it just gets shut down by players like Fungi. Despite that, though, Raven and Morph coming into the fold to bring it back. They'll win the round anyway. Beautiful stuff from Timbers as they claim the 5th.
Wow, what a round from Timbers. Just forced split right there. What a way to, in order to take that. They didn't even get both sides of the wall. That's what we usually see as well, is we try to see some abuse either on the barrels wall or on the maintenance wall, and then try and get those initial picks, burn through the utility, and then try and go for their gunfights. They went completely around that. They instead got the barrels wall and then immediately forced split to make it to where Estral had to split the payload of what was going on and overwhelmed the defense. What a great round from Timbers. That's exactly what we need to be seeing inside of this best of 5.
Yeah, this is when you're considering the fact that Fungi was still able to shut down the push through the breach, so I'm pretty sure that they made all of those entries off of just the normal doorways back at Split and the Dragon doors. So some really good stuff from Timbers to work their way in against that site hold, despite the fact they had a lot of factors working against them in that one. Estral still, of course, with the lead, but going into the final round of the half, they've got a chance to lose it here if Timbers can claim their 3rd and tie us up at an even match for halftime. Let's get into it. It is going to be the same site hold again from Estral.
Raven with another 2K in the last round as well. So, I mean, he is now the top fragger in the entire game. They've woken up the beast, and now they're going to have to deal with it. So, See if they're able to shut him down in this next round. I want to know exactly how he's getting these kills, though. It seems that, at least for the last 2 rounds, we've gotten the tail end of what's happened with him. But there's
Yeah.
so much story left to be had.
Raven's been doing an absolutely fantastic job so far in this map. In quite a few situations, such as one of the rounds they won, he single-handedly carried them out of a few bad spots. So a lot is owed to Raven for the success so far from Timbers, and this close scoreline on top of that. Estral looking to take that away from Timbers here with a hopeful 4th round coming out of the 6th here. Toski getting a bit more aggressive, but he is going to be droned out. And I'll, of course, see that. This little dodge from the drone to keep it alive there. Unfortunately, Toski can't risk pushing forward, so he's just going to have to go ahead and put himself into a position behind lockers here, where he still hopes to get an aggressive pick. You can see the swing now, but ultimately he's falling further and further back, and it looks like Timbers are eventually going to be just given access to that doorway.
Toski just wants these gunfights, continually challenging the teller's wall, which had a clean hole made through it for the teller's window, trying to get any of those initial picks. It's worked out well for them in the past, but these last 2 rounds have been a different story now. So Toski already rotating all the way across the map. He's worked his way into Cafe to try and shut down this push. This has been the struggling part for Timbers, is getting their initial entry into the map. So we'll see if Raven can help them out with that once again. But the drone work right now finding quite a bit of play. They've cleared out most of the map except for the upstairs, now trying to burn any ADSs that could possibly fly or catch anything thrown over the wall. A C4 will also be expended by the defense, as it looks like we'll be going for some hard destruction.
Let's see if there's anything else left on the other side of that wall. I heard a nade go off, so I'm going to assume no, and that they took care of all of the ADSs in these circumstances. Certainly the case now, as the charges are going off without a hitch. And we'll see the first of the openings for Timbers to start pushing their way in from maintenance. Rest of the team still getting into positions by splitting the Dragon door to start their push as well. Obviously, we saw how kind of poorly they pushed through the breach went in the last round. Thankfully, it was the door players that made things work. This time, the angle's a lot better. They don't have to crouch walk through it, so they should have a much better capability to hopefully make it past that breach.
Now with the current drone economy, Biz is the only one with a cam on the entire team. He has to try and do it all with one camera that could possibly get mute jammered as well. It's going to be the rush of the SMG-11, but he's immediately refragged. Estral with 2 big kills, still holding down the throne room, but Timbers fights back. 3 versus 3 now. They still need to get this diffuser locked, and it's going to be Biz that has to sit on that timer at 7 seconds, but the trades continue. Zigmas and Fungi fighting back, but the diffuser's now locked into the post plant. Morphed and Biz locking down the bomb. They're trying to stop them from rotating through split. It's up all on Fungi, but no, it's Biz to finally find some frags in this round after the plant. He does it all in order to claim this throne attack.
Getting some frag movie clips out of this game. This is looking interesting now. Biz doing a fantastic job of securing that final round and being able to tie things up at 3-3. We've also got to give some credit there. The very ballsy push that we saw from Navy within that round takes a massive risk, but he comes out on top, still being able to go 1 for 1 and opens up the possibility for the rest of the team to get in there as well. Great play from the Timbers to secure that 3rd round and tie us up. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen it in game. They've called for a rehost. So we are going to be probably going back onto, that's not us, obviously. We're going to go back onto our cameras in just a second here while they work to get that 5th player reconnected real fast.
I quickly became a Spanish man in a suit. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, just to clarify real quick.
Blue, you're looking dapper today. Let me tell you.
Thank you, man. You too.
Oh, man. But hey, man, that half was... It was so damn exciting. That's the only way I can put it. I was trying to think of a million different ways I could possibly say that. But what an exciting series to start us off here. 3-3 split. Timbers finally waking up. It seemed that they just needed, maybe a little bit of tap on the shoulder. Maybe just that love tap of that, 3-0 to start. Warmed up everyone inside the trenches saying, hey, we need to get into this fight. This is not just a battle. It's a war. It's a long game. Let's get through this.
It's a way to kick up the heat, that's for sure, starting out down 0-3, and it certainly seems like in Timbers' case, it really woke them up and started the engine for the rest of that half. Some really good stuff coming out from them. Most notably dealing with the roaming presence, I would say, a lot more efficiently in the second quarter of the match that we just saw over those last 3 rounds. Much more proficient droning to force players like Toski out of positions where they were able to impact in the first 3 rounds, not so much on the follow-up as they re-ran those 3 sites, or I guess 2 sites, since they just re-attempted Armory twice.
I would totally agree with you. And the biggest thing there with their dealing with the roam game was the fact that they were able to cut off those rotations and force them to move with those drones. There wasn't a lot of heads up kills that we saw up until the very last second there. They pushed everybody back to the site with the drone game, with the ability to take the map control, and then simply walk into sight. That was the thing that took me back. I didn't really understand how he just got to walk through Dragon Door for free and get that kill onto smoke, but that's exactly what happened, and that opened up the floodgates for Timbers to be able to flood the back of Armory, Throne Room, and get that diffuser down. So for the future for Estral, you really got to watch those odd ways to get into the site and make sure that you have somebody's eyes trained on it.
Yeah, certainly the case. And, it really pushes that point that I talked about right before the game started, that neither of these teams really afraid to take risks. And we saw that especially with the last 2 rounds on those Armory attacks, with the way that they started out their play and the avenues through which they found success, both through the direct door pushes that obviously in the second round had a bit more mixed results, but it opened the floodgates, as you were mentioning, for areas like the breach to still work their ways in. Really great, but very risky strategies ultimately from our players here that is paying off at the moment. And we'll see in a moment here if Estral is going to try to pull off anything like that, as when we get back in game, they'll be jumping onto the attack for their first offensive round so far in this series. Besides that, if you're just joining us, we just had a rehost called between these 2 teams. We're only in the first map here of the Latin American Major Mexico Division. It's obviously a bit of a short major in that we only have 1 matchup, but hey, it's a best of 5 at least between the top 2 teams in the Mexican Championship regular season that are now facing off for both the lion's share of the prize pool and, more importantly, arguably, the SI points as we get closer and closer to that event next year.
Yeah, so many mini majors going on right now, so much Siege content to be had. So there's definitely going to be some games that you guys have missed. If you guys are interested in Siege or watching it for the first time, don't fret, my friends. There's an entire YouTube channel that you can go to and watch any matchup from any given time. You can go all the way back to the beginning when everyone was maining Rook and such. It was a very, very weird time, but you can do that. So make sure you guys have that subbed on your YouTube. Go back, watch all of those, but don't move that browser just yet. We won't be back into this very, very shortly. And we're not even through 1 map inside of this best of 5. Still plenty of action to be had.
Yeah, absolutely the case, folks. Still plenty of gameplay to go here. Still plenty of frags to be had. And with the way the first 6 rounds have gone, plenty of really cool clips probably to be claimed as well. So make sure you guys are sticking around for all that action. We've got the full 5 maps hopefully coming up over the course of the next couple hours here. Once again, for those that are wondering what the delay of game is at this point, there was a player that was disconnected at the end of round 6. I don't know necessarily why they disconnected, but obviously they're working on getting that player back in as quickly as possible so that they can resume with the gameplay and see who's going to come out on top of this first map here on Theme Park.
Now we need Jackie right now. I need to rehost Riddle. I'm not a very, I can't riddle anything. So we're just here. We're kind of just here.
Jackie's fill game is unmatched, unfortunately, compared to ours. So we're always going to be outmatched on that one, I think.
He's unbeatable. You can't. He's like the raid boss of filling.
How many Reddit threads has he got this weekend? Like 6 now, or like something like that.
I think he's at 6, man. He's like Tom Brady. He's got him on multiple hands now.
He's getting a lot of love from the Siege community this weekend. But hey, nothing wrong with that.
Well deserved, man. Well deserved.
Yeah. Guys are doing a great job, and you'll get to see more from them tomorrow as well, as they'll be finishing up the Brazilian portion of the Latin American majors. They'll be having their finals tomorrow as well.
I will say thank you guys for allowing us to fill in the gap for you for the Mexico finals. It's been a lot of fun so far. So cheers to that. And hopefully we'll be back in the map very soon so you guys at home can have something else to watch besides our face. I know we are, decently good looking people, but it's not what you want to see. You'd much rather watch some Rainbow Six content. You'd much rather watch some people fight for some money and for some SI points. So we should be back in here momentarily.
Yeah, certainly the case. And don't forget as well, if you're interested in catching up with more in what's been going on in the Mexico division, be sure to check out the LATAM YouTube channel as well. There's a separate Rainbow Six Esports LATAM channel that we would encourage you to check it out, as unfortunately there's not English VODs for the South American and Mexican divisions, but you do have the VODs in their native language, so be sure to go ahead and check that out if you want to be finding more from these teams, obviously like Estral and their opponents Timbers here in this matchup. They're actually pretty entertaining matches, so definitely advise you guys to go check them out if you're looking for a bit more Rainbow Six Esports action.
Yeah, lots of fun to be had still. As I'm trying to make sure, I just got a puppy a little bit ago, chat. So mind me and my head movement here. I'm trying to make sure he doesn't chew a wire and accidentally shock himself to death. So yeah, so that's what's been going on. But you know, that's been a whole thing in and of itself, John. Speaking of puppies, I haven't had a dog for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
We had cats, so it's nice having a dog back in the house. But I forgot how much puppies chew everything. So
Yeah.
it's been an experience.
Thankfully, I got to skip that with mine. Mine was a rescue, so I was able to just go right past the baby phase and right into the adult dog phase. So
very lucky man.
my dog's
very
the best.
lucky.
I love my dog. Just in case anybody didn't know that.
Aspen's a beaut. If you guys haven't seen Aspen, make sure you guys go over to Blue's Twitter, check him out. One of the best huskies I've ever met in my entire life.
All right, guys. Well, obviously, if you can see it, we are back in game now. And we're going to get started with the second half here. We've got Timbers on defense. Estral jumping onto the attack for the first time. 6 picks coming in. Did have ourselves a Clash selection to start with, but it's looking like that's going to end up going over towards a Valkyrie. So no clashes yet, although they have been a pretty popular pick here on Theme Park. You want to delay certain pushes from specific angles.
All right. Well, getting back into things now. Timbers now on the defense. So hopefully I'm not reinstating things that have already been said, as I had to make sure to get the puppy out of the room before he chewed through my lightbox over here. And yeah, bad things would happen, so we didn't want that. Had to get him out of the room real quick and shut the door. Anyways, jumping back into the things that are important now. Timbers seemingly having an extended hold towards the east here, worried about what could possibly come from Cash, which I think that is very well thought out, as that is usually the standard offense here on Theme. We'll see what Estral's main game plan is they're bringing more of a traditional lineup, not rocking the Habana as we saw Timbers do every single time. They're bringing the Thermite.
Another important thing to note here, too, just looking at these teams' reputation and how it affects their overall standings, of course. Looking at the regular division that was playing out over the last couple weeks, of course, alongside all of the other leagues, Estral only lost a single map during that time period. So if they end up dropping the first one here, that will only be the second map they have actually lost in the Mexican division so far, of course, over the course of its history. Pretty big deal, of course. Timbers have lost a few. There's a bit more, or there's a bit less, I guess, to play for in that respect, but Estral are defending a record. Another poll for you guys here. Just wondering who you think is going to come out on top of this 3-3 halftime score. And it's looking like most of you guys seems like it's shifted in the favor of Timbers at this point, with 62% of you favoring them.
Looks like we have some believers in Raven, and he's making me a believer as well. He's been so impactful on the offense, but switching over to defense now, he's donned the mute, has some G11 in hand, as we're used to seeing with him and compadre Smoke. So see how well that can work out for him. Also rocking the bulletproof as well instead of a nitro cell. Actually, no nitro cells brought at all here, which is something that not too used to seeing. So definitely something fresh and new to be had.
Take a look at the overall approach to the attack here now. Already a lot of shots ringing out. We can see Pixie going to be able to pick up the first kill against a Vector swing. Biz, though, is there just a second later to trade it right back. It's all over the place right now. Neither team seeming to get solid footing, but maybe changing up now as Pixie finds yet another kill from the inside of Control. A wide swing into the hallway from Skimzy confirms Raven, and now everything falls to Biz on the inside of Bunk, trying to stem the tide. The best hope he's got at this point is the fact that most of the players from Estral are still past that reinforced wall. However, it won't seem to matter. Take that final fight against Fungi, who will come out on top and claim the opening round of the hat for Estral.
Well, now that I've seen it in person, I can definitely tell you this seems to be the running thing with Timbers on defense. Very aggressive team, likes their gunfights, but sometimes it doesn't work out. Estral didn't even have sight control there, and they just ended up killing every member of Timbers in order to accomplish winning that round. So for Timbers, it might just be slowing down just a touch, make them burn that utility, actually make them work for that map control. Extremely rough here. Apparently, Toski is six picking. I don't know why he's six picking. I don't
Like
see
a
anything.
gentleman's
Oh, because
agreement thing, maybe?
he had ace. He had ace. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was on the bottom one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Ace is not in the game yet, folks. And neither is Malusi. Can't use
Yeah.
them. They don't exist inside of comp, which is probably a good thing because that AK-12 is very scary. Very scary gun.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if we're going on the normal timeline, we shouldn't be too far away, right?
I don't even want to talk about it. That's how scared I am. Well, dude, Malusi is a terrifying sight. That's all I'm gonna say.
Obviously, pending announcements from Ubisoft, but
We'll have to see how that goes. 100%.
Yeah, we'll have to see when Ubisoft is dropping the next patch. 'Cause I don't know if world events have changed that at all.
Hey, I mean, they did a very good job with Steel Wave, given the fact of what's been going on. So, and obviously, as with every dev, they usually work very far in advance. So, we'll have to see exactly what's going to go on with that. But no news yet about those two and when they'll be brought in. So we're still stuck with our rudimentary hard breachers, which means we are going to have 3 walls being torn down all at the same exact time. Yes, folks, you heard that right. That's exactly what Ace does with those Selma charges. But let's talk about things that are more important and impactful into this round, like the fact that we're on lab, double shotgun set up here with Navy and Raven in sight, trying to lock things down and make sure that Estral can't get sight control too quickly.
A drone work going on at the moment here. Skimzy doing the large majority of that, it seems, for the team at the moment. Getting some good intel, at least onto the Vector's position for Timbers there. Not much else beyond that really being gained by the drones at this point, though. So still plenty of time to play off of. They know that Timbers is going to play aggressively, so droning is pretty much a requirement for Estral to try and do anything here. And you can see the prioritization on that as we flip through the players and find quite a few of them with their faces in their phones.
Can't be doing that. Texting and sieging is not the best way to try and get some kills. This usually leads to, well, what happens with texting and driving. I'll let you guys put 2 and 2 together on that one. Timbers, though, still playing the game nice and slow here, and this is definitely a big change from what we saw the last time. They did bring the dock as well, which could help them out in some gunfights. This is actually a very similar to setup to what Estral was running on this exact same site. Extended hold into the throne room with a rotation into barrels. So Estral should know exactly what they're walking into if they've done their homework.
A little bit of self-damage there for Sigmas, but hopefully not too big of a deal in the grand scheme of things if he can play up on top here. Still doing some of the work as well, trying to find out any players from Timbers who may be hiding within the site. But as you guys have already seen from the first round, it's not necessarily going to be Timbers' playstyle. Very out and about team. To retain as much map control as possible, but that doesn't always lead to success, especially in this case with Vector finally being isolated and found out by Skimzy. So very late into the round, as I believe Estral were trying to find him out for quite a while, and Toski looks like he's also going to be down for another fight. Skimzy, though, still fighting it out, as is Sigma's. 2 more kills going up onto the board for Estral, looking to make it more, but Morph is fighting back against this. Unfortunately, he'll be the only one who can do it now, and at even lower HP, stuck in the 1vx, is going to try so hard to down Toski. Nearly gets the job done, but he is pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. Any swing from Morph will more than likely lead to his death, and there you have it. Pixie finishes things off. Estral claim round number 8.
Very well handled from Estral there, shutting down exactly the same hold that they performed in their defensive half. Timbers more than likely going to have to adjust in some regard if they want to go back towards lab, but doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. They'd much rather head to bunk daycare. I agree with this wholeheartedly. The first set that they had there was very aggressive. If they slowed this down even the slightest and lean on that Wamai and Jaeger utility, this could make it a lot more difficult for Estral to actually get onto site. We are going to have a 6 pick here as well as Navy moves away from the pulse and picks up the smoke.
So, a little bit more capability to delay things. Obviously, you don't have that capability to actively punish players. But keep in mind, of course, the Pulse would find limited use away from a roam on an upstairs site anyway. So Makes sense to 6-pick away from that and put them onto the smoke instead to hopefully use the utility to delay the pushes from Estral, which have been more traditional in terms of what you expect out of kind of like the big 3 regions in Siege. I guess it's 4 regions now, but
I feel like we're expanding almost every single day.
yeah, you know, 4 and growing regions. There we go. That's a good way to explain it, I think.
R6 massive. What it is. Massive.
Is that the UK joke?
Something like that. I don't know.
Right? Isn't that what that's from?
Yeah, it is UK massive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was like, took me a while to make a connection on that one.
John, I can't have a joke and then have it fly over your head. You're casting with me. If you don't,
Sorry.
everyone's
Yeah.
like,
It's the weekend.
you
Right?
you owe me lunch the next time that we hang out.
It is the weekend, I hope. Yeah, it's Saturday. Okay. I had to check my phone for that one real quick.
No. That tells you guys what the schedule of a commentator in R6 is like. That's just what it is. You're just like, is today Monday?
Because we don't operate on like a normal 9 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule, so days aren't as important for someone like me. Like, it doesn't matter what day it is for me. It's just another day.
It's just another day. Every day is a good day when you work in esports. I'm gonna tell you that. I actually don't have a real job. I get paid in fun bucks. It's pretty cool. When you get to actually, make like, payments on bills and stuff with money that you're just like, I literally just commentated a video game or played a video game for it. It's a very cool experience. But to get back to the things that actually matter, the people that are playing for the money and the SI points, Estral and Timbers, already a minute into the round here, already have some air jabs down to lock down that defensive push and rotation that could possibly happen. Timbers playing things a little bit slower, but now we've ran into some issues on our end, and I am now blind. So, should have this fixed in just a moment here.
Hey guys, so obviously give us a second here as we just lost our feed. So as soon as we have that repaired, we're going to go right back into game. I would imagine that this did not affect the actual game itself, so that's probably still going on. We jump in. We are probably going to be a bit in the future, possibly at the end of that round, so our deepest apologies for that, but we are working on getting back in game as quickly as humanly possible. Just give us a moment here, and we'll think we are good, so we should be good to jump back in game here, and thankfully we didn't miss the round. We're still in the midst of it.
And nobody died, all except for Fungi, who just died because Morph shot him in the face, and it's going to be immediately followed up by Raven with that shotgun onto Pixie. Lots of damage done. Zigma's almost getting caught with his pants down there and the camera in hand. Raven once again with his shotgun. He is
that's
so
a long
dangerous.
range shot.
It's insane, man. This M590 is just giving him the business right now. Zigma's finally fires back. It's him and Skimsy with the AK. And see how much they can get done. This AK with a very deep magazine as well has 40 rounds, so you can consistently take these gunfights over and over again. Trying to get rid of the bulletproof, but he's going to wide swing here onto the Valkyrie, but she's going to continue to skate away. The Deagle in hand, but no, Timbers can't win it out, at least with that, but it's immediately traded as Vectors forces the top of yellow, and Morph finds Zigmas to claim the first defensive round for Timbers.
Timbers looking a lot better. Obviously, we missed a lot of the mid-round adjustments there with the unfortunate tech error, so apologies once again for that, folks. But a good, solid hold, and it looking like not necessarily over-pushing themselves as we had seen in the past rounds leads to a much more successful hold at the end of the day, and one that, as you guys saw, of course, Estral had a much harder time working their way past, even with proficient droning and intel. Players were still having to take, as you'll see right here on the replay, pretty massive risks, which would ultimately just lead to those players getting traded a second or two later.
Sorry, did you say massive?
I did.
Anyways, headed to Armory. Mutant Smoke picked up once again. They really like this 6-pick off of this Pulse, and I feel like the cat's kind of out of the bag at this point. You're definitely not bringing the Pulse, mainly because we haven't seen it. So they're more than likely guessing that Raven's going to be on that shotgun, especially with his impact over these last couple of rounds with that M590. That's the main thing that comes with the 2 SAS operators as well when they're not using their other primary weapons, which we don't see happen too often, mainly because the FMG9 and the MP5K aren't the best when it comes to the SMGs on the defense. So you'd much rather just rock the shotgun for destructibility to recreate your sight, as well as that SMG11. A lot of the times, everyone tells you to believe in that shotgun as much as possible, mainly because of things like that. You guys saw Raven get 2 kills with just 1 shot, and even John saying that was quite a far range. Sometimes that gun can make or break a round, and that's exactly why we see Raven leaning on it so much instead of John in the SMG-11 and trying to get it done.
Taking a look at how Estral are going to set themselves up. The opening push. We've got 2 players working their way over onto the cafe balcony. I would imagine that the other 3 are in the process of getting dragon access. We can see there's a bit of a split defense between the first and second floors here for Timbers as well, looking to maintain that extended control beyond the initial hold here. More than likely gets a good chance for them to find some action from the players that are pushing in on cafe side. However, you can see Estral's got quite a few drones in the back lanes over by Arcade. It's spotted out at least 1 player holding in the main yellow hallway. And there you go. Sigma's executes pretty much flawlessly onto that player. Biz is taken out, and at the moment, there is no room to bargain for a trade and put Timbers back into an even situation here.
Biz dead once again. That's a Jaeger off the board. Timbers did set up to try and deny intel, at least, with the Mozzie and Mute combo, but it's not set up far enough away in order to prevent them from lacking intel in the department side of the hallway. So now Estral in full control of the eastern side of the map here, or excuse me, western side of the map here, if I can get my P's and Q's in order. Minute and a half remain here in between these 2 squads. Timbers still slowly working their way through this defensive round, not showing as much face as we've seen in these prior rounds, leaning on that utility, but Morph currently has 2 Wamai discs inside of his pocket. That could be a very, very big deal, especially as Estral's now got top control. They're going to lean on this secondary utility to try and burn through these ADSs and possibly get some kills with those frag grenades.
Working on some soft destruction in the process here too. Try and open up the angles a bit more, as you said, to open up some potential tosses onto the players below them, but not necessarily going to be the easiest thing in the world to accomplish, given the way that the site is set up for the Timbers. Rest of Estral now in position to start breaching their way through, and here we go, the first attempt to make their way through yellow. A pretty obvious bullet hole on the wall there is going to alert Fungi to a player's presence just beyond it. And that will lead to the death of Vector. Vector is a little bit too slow on the trigger to be able to come out on top of that duel.
Unfortunate where that punch hole was, but now Toski with yet another kill as Estral's closing down onto site. It seems that they want to force yellow. They already have it open, but oh, a nice shot immediately frag from Fungi though. So Morph, really, what did it matter at the end of the day? It costed you your life, and now Raven's all alone with only 2 toxic babes by his side, but I don't know how much those babes are going to be able to accomplish. Skimsy with the AK takes him down, and Estral claim round 10, looking very good as they reach map point.
Kind of a weird situation, almost the opposite issue that time for the folks on defense for Timbers that we had Estral facing back in round number 9. Estral had to take these massive risks that almost guaranteed players getting traded right after the fact, even if they got a kill. And then just in that last round, we saw because of the advantage that Estral got early on, Timbers felt that they needed to, take those same risks. And we had, as you'll see here on the replay, and most notably in the case of Morph, the players ending up in the same situation where they take a big risk to try and put the man count back into more palatable terms, and then that player just immediately gets traded, even with the kill.
Yeah, and that's the harsh thing is when you aren't able to actually trade out on top of those trades, or you're at a man disadvantage and then trades start to ensue, you're always going to be the man down, correct? So it gets to be a very difficult situation. That's exactly what happened right there. Timbers tried to throw bodies at the problem when they didn't have bodies to expend. That's where you need to lean on that utility to try and handle some of your problems, or try and force Estral to make the mistake to bring that man count back to even.
Fine to do, as you said, when the man count is even, it's perfectly fine to take those risks. But when you're down a player, it's not necessarily going to help your case. As the most likely outcome of those situations is going to be you're still down a player. It's just both of you have one less player in a lot of those situations. Unfortunately, is how it too often plays out. So this will take us into the 11th round, Estral's first opportunity to close down this map in 7-4 fashion. If they would take it here, they're going to be up against the holdover here in initiation.
Well, so far throughout this map, Estral's offense has been pretty damn nasty, and leading up into these next maps that we'll be seeing, I'm very excited to see if that's going to continue to be the case, especially with our next map being Clubhouse. We'll see how well they're able to handle that map and break through all of that defensive utility, but we still have to get through Theme Park first. offensive lineup, still extremely similar to what they've been bringing, actually what they've been bringing this entire time. But they've been able to capitalize on quite a few mistakes from the Timbers, most notably the very aggressive initial starts to these rounds where we've seen Skimzy pick up quite a few initial kills.
And Skimzy is more than likely going to be in charge of doing that yet again. Self-drones himself in, and he's not alone in that either. Got 1 to 2 other players also checking out the Dragon side just to make sure that it is indeed going to be safe for their approach. It seems to be the case as Timbers is once again going for a much more held back strategy, which worked out a lot better for them in the past. Great little camera position here. Going to be able to play off of back there. Gives them a good amount of intel, and is not going to reveal much either.
Good time waste here from Timbers, but Estral also taking their time doing the addition to try and see how much utility they'll have to use to burn through this upstairs hole towards the eastern side. Barreling down onto waiting room, but frag grenades into initiation. They want to go for the initiation wall here, which could possibly be an issue if they're able to swing the door. And there it is. Actually, no, that's on Toski. Didn't look at the name, just assumed there for just a second. He gets blown to smithereens as they attempt to challenge all the way up. Dragon Fungally quickly dispatches Biz, and it's already equal man account.
Really like unfortunate turn of events here for Timbers and having that Valkyrie camera be so successful because, and we're going to see a really unfortunate turn of events here for Navy. He is going to keep himself alive for a few more seconds just by the virtue of those gas grenades being there. And him going down could help the team because if somebody wants to swing in the hopes of killing him, obviously with the position of Vector, that's a very easy trade. There you go. Sigma's first to try and go in, although that might have just been the entry attempt, and he's immediately shut down. Vector, though, nearly losing his life as another player also tries to peek out of bathroom. Not much hope to get Navy back into the fight, so he may be dead and gone already, which would put Timbers down to 3 in an even fight.
Yeah, just let himself bleed out so he can get on cameras and try and assist. But it's Skimzy once again. He's actually switched up weapons as well over to the ARX. Wants to do a little bit more damage, but gonna have to deal with that mag capacity now. But doesn't seem to be too big of an issue as it's now down to Raven, who has to clutch up. Fungi almost down on the diffuser, and that's gonna be it. Very low HP on him, though. Definitely winnable from Raven if he's able to get this down onto Skimzy. Oh, no! Such a bad move, but Fungi with the cross claims the round and the map. Oh my, what a move here from Estral to be able to get that plant down. What an angle as well from Fungi.
Nice stuff from Fungi. Very unfortunate turn of events from that last player alive on Timbers. Everything was being played well up until that second. Just crouches in a very unfortunate spot, which gives away the angle over to Fungi. That entire round was just really unfortunate for Timbers. That Valcam gave them so much intel, and that's why you saw them playing so aggressive.